It's the all-new Tata Nano with a whole lot of differences. We review the car for you. And the Jaguar XC driven and reviewed in Spain. Hi everyone, thanks for being with us on CNB. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Partnkar. We want to get straight into that new Nano. It is being called the GenX Nano. In fact, Tata Motors says it is the second generation of the car. But is it substantially different? I think that's the big question all of us had. So let's get straight into the new Nano story. When the Tata Nano first arrived, it brought with it an idea, a message. And we all got so caught up in that idea that the car was then held up to very high standards. High standards for failure, I should say, because no one wanted to give it a chance. So it started slow, but has since been managing decent numbers. Though well off the original targets set by Tata. So, Tata has worked hard on making the car more desirable and appealing to the people it wants to sell the Nano to. Model year 2012 got better handling and ride. Model year 2014 had the addition of the power steering. And now we have what Tata is calling the second generation Nano. I'm not sure I want to call it that, but yes, Gen X is okay by me. The new car does have enough new bits to qualify. The most significant change that is immediately apparent is the styling and the fact that the rear now sports a hatch that can be opened. Tata says it had major feedback on this topic from existing users, and so it was imperative to do this. The 110 liters of boot space is no doubt limited, but the company says you can put in one carry-on suitcase and two handbags. The engine remains at the rear, of course, and sits below the boot space, but there is good insulation to keep the engine heat mostly out. The automated manual transmission or AMT version means that the engine compartment is a bit raised, which is why this variant has 94 liters of cargo room, and you can fold down the seats for more room. The car maintains its small footprint, overall shape and proportions. The bumpers though are new, and they house what Tata designers call the brand's Humanity line. This is finished in black with an infinity symbol motif. The new headlamps with black bezels are new, with a Nano name housed within the cluster. They are now connected to each other with a piano black grille-like strip that also houses the Tata logo. The car looks a bit grown up and mature, which is perhaps apt given the other changes. It has lost its cute character though. The seat and door trim fabric also gets the infinity motif. That's quite nicely done actually. The seats are also better contoured for added comfort. Now let's get the car on the road. I am driving the XTA variant, which is the top of the line with the AMT, which Tata has sourced from Italy's Magneti Marelli, which also supplies it to Maruti Suzuki. The AC on this car is pretty effective, but it's a bit noisy and it gets a little annoying, but it's really quick in how it cools the cabin. Now, the power steering is something that the Nano got a few months ago, and so the twist continues, but it's really the AMT that you all want to know about. How does it perform? Now, as automated manual transmissions go, remember, it takes getting used to. You have to sort of, start to just get accustomed to how those gear changes happen, the kind of little gaps between gear changes. But the part that I found a little annoying is just the downshift, especially from second to first, where there is a bit of a pause and a a little bit of a lag as the car starts to again pick up. And if you want that quick situation where you want to overtake or quickly accelerate, well, that's not necessarily going to happen. The gear ratios change if you put the car into sport mode, but for the most part, it doesn't necessarily translate into significantly different performance. But yes, it does help when you're trying to accelerate quickly. Being in sport mode helps you to hold on to the lower gear to get a better burst of energy. On the whole, the car drives quite well given its size. The electric power steering is available on the mid variant as well now, and not just the preserve of the top end. The car's ground clearance remains a healthy 180 millimeters, and it still has a 4-meter turning radius that bests its class. I have to say that even though the 624cc engine remains unchanged, it now sounds better when you're inside the car anyway. The AMT uses a 5-speed gearbox and the manual a 4-speed still. The engine now has improved thermal management, which means it won't heat up as severely, and the car's radiator has been moved to the front. Tata says this helps distribute weight better and helps the cause of better handling. I honestly couldn't pick up any perceived change on that count. Handling has been improved by the car's chassis and frame, getting stiffer though. The changes in the body in white to integrate the new hatch door have also meant the rear needed to be strengthened. Tata has worked on strengthening the front too and has increased the front impact crumple zone in length. Side impact beams have also been added in all the doors. Overall, this has meant an increase in torsional stiffness and rigidity. I am pleased that Tata has made at least an effort to enhance safety. I can also happily report that the company is considering at least optional airbags too for the Nano, and I do hope that happens. Tata engineers have taken not just customer feedback into account, but have also visited several markets across India to monitor traffic and parking conditions, and the engine settings have been recalibrated to ensure better fuel efficiency. Based on feedback from Nano customers, people who are already using the car, Tata Motors says it's increased the capacity of the fuel tank from 15 to 24 liters. The feedback really specifically was that a lot of people said, look, we don't really want to refuel twice a week, we're happy to do it once. And so the claimed mileage figure from Tata is 23.6 kilometers to the liter of petrol. That's on the manual. On this AMT, it's 21.9. And compare that to the Alto 800, which sits in at about 22.74, and yeah, it's a pretty fuel efficient car, and it's perhaps one of the primary reasons a lot of people would consider a Nano in the first place. The car also now has Bluetooth enabled phone and music streaming functions only in the top end. I tried both and they work just fine. There is a lot more that Tata could do with the Nano. The potential for Tata to go places with this brand is huge, and I hope we get to see some of that. In the meanwhile, the GenX Nano is a better car than its predecessor and will be served by prices that stay attractive, with the AMT firmly below 3 lakh rupees, I hope. Now the Nano still comes in some of the new colors that were offered with the Twist variant, and that includes the nice blue and purple. There are 2 new colors. This is Sangria Red. It is actually really appealing. And then there is a new pink. It's called Persian Rose. Perhaps not one that I'm really keen to look at, but Tata says that there are female buyers for the Nano that it would like to attract with that color. On that note, let's slip into a short break, our sector snapshot as we do that, and we'll see you on the other side with the Jaguar XE.
Welcome back to CNB. Individualization, I think that's the kind of car Tata Motors is trying to play with the new Nano. And you know what? The whole attempt is to make the car a little bit more upmarket. So a little bit of use of color, different kinds of trim, different colors in fact. Here you can see beige and silver accents. There's black, there's also cappuccino as they're calling it. These are of course dependent on the exterior car color as well. And so it's nice that you have all these options. Makes the car a little bit more young and more funky. The other end of the spectrum when it comes to Tata Motors is of course JLR, and the very latest offering is one that we have for you next. It is the XE from Jaguar. It's a make or break product because it takes on the 3 Series, but is it good enough? Bala drove the car in Spain. Here's the review. It's getting a lot of attention, and why not? It had a spectacular debut in London just a few days ago, and now the XE is here for the world to see.
So we all know by now how crucially important the XE model is for Jaguar. With the numerous teaser campaigns, the Big Bang unveil on the banks of the Thames River, and the number of appearances it's already done at global motor shows. But the crucial question on everyone's minds is the driving dynamics of the XE. So let's not waste any more time. Let me just stop talking and start driving this baby Jag.
Yes, Jaguar's make or break XE model has promised a lot in its build-up with the new aluminium architecture, aerodynamic design and the JLR's first in-house engine range. But basically, this is Jaguar's most affordable sedan with which it hopes to shore up volumes by attracting a wider and younger set of buyers. This will especially hold true in markets like the USA. The BMW 3 Series is considered the segment leader in the driving dynamic department, closely followed by the newly crowned World Car of the Year, the Mercedes-Benz C-Class that's making all sorts of benchmarks. And then there's the next-gen Audi A4 that is also about to break cover. Jaguar wants to now get back into the three-way battle after being missing for 6 years, when it last offered the X-Type. We're among the first to drive the XE in not-so-sunny Spain to find out if it can be a worthy competitor. There are 5 engines on offer across the range. We're first driving the 178 bhp 2.0-litre Ingenium diesel, and then the 237 bhp 2.0-litre petrol. Jaguar is expected to first debut the petrol model in India, followed by the diesel, which will be locally assembled.
Now the first driving impression you get once you start driving the new diesel engine is how smooth and refined the engine feels. You hear a nice little growl as you start the engine, but once you hit higher speeds on the highway, the engine really settles down and gives you a really nice driving experience. And that's something Jaguar has really worked on to improve the refinement of the engine. And also the NVH levels inside the cabin are fairly impressive. But you go past 4,000 RPM, you do hear some engine grumbling, but nothing too intrusive, and makes for an overall very pleasant driving experience.
There is a generous 430 Nm of torque on this Ingenium diesel, and there isn't a surge of power but a more controlled and linear delivery. The 2-litre petrol XC2 is refined and much more agile to drive as it does pack a punch. We only drove cars with the 8-speed ZF auto transmission, which makes for an engaging drive. It's quick and precise even on the downshift. And it's this automatic gearbox that will make it to India next year and not the 6-speed manual transmission that's on offer to other markets. Jaguar has been quite vocal about the XC having all the characteristics of being a driver's car, especially with the new lightweight aluminium chassis that's as stiff as it can get. And with a high-end double wishbone front suspension with an integral link rear suspension, the car feels quite balanced. Buyers have to choose one of the 3 suspension setups, from passive comfort or sport, and also at an additional cost, an adaptive suspension which adjusts the ride depending on the terrain. India will likely get the XC with passive comfort suspension setup better suited to our roads. It is rather strange that this has to be a pre-purchase and not one drivers can make on the fly like the rivals have. The new electric power steering offers an impressive feel and great feedback, which does lift the driving dynamics of the XC.
So it's time to stir things up just a bit more with the top-of-the-line XC. That's got the V6 engine with 340 horsepower, and it's the new 4-litre engine that we're going to test out on the track. We earlier talked about the excellent handling on the roads, and it's going to be interesting how it performs on the track. So let's go have some fun.
It was no coincidence that Jaguar did bring us here to the Navarra circuit in northern Spain to drive the F-Type convertible as well. With similar engines to that monster, the XC didn't disappoint and behaved quite admirably on the track. The impressive handling we saw on regular roads earlier only gets better on the track. The car has ample torque and is available right when you want it. The good news? This top-of-the-line XC S Petrol is likely to be the first variant off the block in India when the XC makes its Desi debut. On pure driving dynamics, the Jaguar XC excels, but falls slightly short of the BMW 3 Series.
Now, earlier we talked about how the XC has all the characteristics of being a driver's car, but back home in India, you will find a lot of buyers sitting here in the rear seat. Of course, the ride quality continues to be good right in the back seat as well. You've got nice, big, comfortable seats as well. But as far as space goes, that's something that's just about sufficient here, especially with the headroom, with the sloping roofline not being much. And that could be a problem area for some buyers back home in India, at least the ones who have chauffeurs to drive a car like this.
Space or lack of much of it might be the chink in the armor of the XC, but Jaguar hopes to soon offer a long wheelbase version of the XC, especially for markets like China and India. You also have the rear seats folding in the 40:20:40 ratio, which can extend cargo space to a maximum of 830 litres. The cabin does feel premium with some good quality materials around the dashboard quite neatly laid out. We checked out the new 8-inch touchscreen for the new in-control infotainment with a user-friendly and simple interface. But a couple of areas that did bother us. First, the AC vents near the door that protruded a bit too much that you can hit as you get inside the car. Next, the position of the 4 power window switches on the driver's side door is a bit far to reach, and not all drivers will find this comfy. Bottom line, on interior trim, the Mercedes-Benz C-Class is still the one that scores over the pack, including the XC with its otherwise rich and plush interior feel. It almost feels strange to talk about the styling on a Jaguar sedan at the end of the review, but that's largely because we have already taken you through so much on how this car looks and why. Needless to say, it's simply gorgeous and we love the agile and taut feel of the design. The XE is expected to arrive early next year after a likely Big Bang unveil at the Delhi Auto Expo in February. Jaguar is exploring the option of introducing the XE as a CKD rather than a CBU to give it more flexibility in pricing, especially the diesel variant. The BMW 3 Series is currently priced between 36 lakhs and 45 lakh rupees, while the Mercedes C-Class goes for 40 to 43 lakh rupees ex-showroom Delhi.
The new Jaguar XE should be in India perhaps around the end of the year or at the start of 2016. Now that's pretty much all we have time for you. We've got you two ends of the spectrum with the Nano at one end and the Jaguar XE at the other. Please react to the program. Tell us what you'd like to see on it as well. Keep your feedback coming and please wear your seatbelts. Please wear your helmets. I'll see you next week.